It's up to you, New York, New York. How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on YouTube and Facebook Live. I am your host, Richie, here with my guy. It's been a long time since we had him, but whenever the boys of summer start reporting to camp, you could count on this guy coming back. Corey Rain, welcome back to the show, bro. Good to have you here.
How's it going, man? It's been too long, but yeah, happy to be back. Happy to get things rolling.
Yeah, we got a lot to speak on. We're getting back into baseball shape, so to speak. Baseball season around the corner. I had my man Richard Dorney on the show yesterday, and today we're just going to be chopping it up, talking about just what's happening around the league. I've put together some questions to ask Corey, and we're both going to kind of chime in on them. Nunez, what's up, bro? Daniel Nunez, resident Dodger fan here. He's here often. I'm sure he's going to be here a lot with the expected success of the Dodgers as they will be chasing down the first three-peat since the 2000 New York Yankees when they did it over the New York Mets. That was a long time ago, as the Yankees did win one in '09, but this is the most significant drought in my lifetime, as this current Yankee squad, this current Yankee drought has actually jumped the previous drought that I endured from my birth year up until '96. We're going to hit on everybody, but we are Yankee fans. So we're going to start with them, and we'll probably circle back to them at some point too. American League East. Can the New York Yankees hold the fort down while Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon heal? Corey, what are your thoughts on this? It's definitely an uphill challenge off the jump, missing two of your four best starters.
It is a definite challenge for sure. But they're kind of used to being without Cole now, aren't they? Last two seasons.
I mean,
he came
94 wins without him last year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep. And he did come back in 24 and he was there, but he missed most of that season too. And, Carlos Rodon was huge for them last year. He was super consistent. But they've got some arms. I like their replacements. I like their depth. I think Weathers is actually a low-key good move because I believe in the Yankee pitching system. I believe in how they develop pitching. I believe in how they make pitchers better. So,
well, to your point, we've seen it with journeymen in the past. Good example would actually be Clay Holmes. Now, he didn't achieve being a starter in the Bronx, and he eventually found his way on the wrong side of the fan base and the organization's opinion. But he did have some quality years with the Yankees. He was able to go to an all-star game. Luke Weaver, another guy that was instrumental in '24. And Luke apparently really is fond of his Yankees bag. Did you see that, Corey? That he reported to the Mets with his Yankee bag still.
No, I did not see that. It's kind of funny that the Mets have him and Devin Williams. It's it's pretty funny to me, but yeah.
Yeah, the Mets have had a propensity in the past 3 years or so. It's like they average two former Yankees a year. Obviously the big name Juan Soto, who got off to a bumpy start last year in Queens, but definitely picked up the pace. Back to the question at hand. I do share your sentiments on the Yankees' ability to develop pitchers. I do think guys like Weathers and the reliever from Colorado that we're bringing in too, who has a lot of swing and miss stuff. I believe that these are the kind of guys that Matt Blake loves working with,
Yep.
and this is something that he has become accustomed to.
They always seem to find guys, like off the street, so to speak, journeyman guys that are down on their luck, and they turn them into good pitchers. Like Tim Hill. What was he before he
Yeah,
came to the Yankees?
yeah, a couple of years ago when we got swept by the Mets, I recall Tim Hill going back and forth, between Mets, Yankees. The Mets gave him multiple opportunities, and I playfully said, "Does this guy remember what team he's on?" Because he was probably very dizzy before he finally
Right.
got grounded with the Yankees. But another guy, and having lefties in the pen is so very important. Pacoda has Yanks winning the American League East, lat 41. Welcome to the show. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It's baseball season. I take it that you might be a Yankee fan. Yeah, get in the comments, buddy. Feel free to hang here with us.
I
Thanks for joining.
This is my thing. I understand the frustration of the fan base, and they tend to be a little extreme with their opinions. So I understand the pessimism at times, but they were tied for the East last year. This is not a chopped liver situation. So
Not to mention that the new find of the Mets was not very successful in the Bronx. Devin Williams, I
yep,
don't like to blame anything on one guy. There's a litany of reasons why the Yankees lost some games last year that they should have won. Of course, fielding's another issue that we've had.
yep,
Base running is an issue, but it's hard to ignore the blown saves that Devin Williams had in a career worst season. And it seems
you
like from a
can.
mental standpoint, it goes back to the Alonso homer 2 years earlier, a year earlier.
Yes, you can argue, like you said, you can't just pin it on that, but you can argue that he did, in some ways, cost them the division. So,
Yeah, I mean, I could pick a lot of random days in the summer that would be frustrating. Unfortunately, the Yankees have always been good for one particular month after the midway point where they seem to go into like this feudal tank before they come out of it. We saw it
yeah,
the year of the World Series. I was in attendance in Tampa
yep,
watching them. They lost that Rays series. Then they played Baltimore at the time, a team that was ahead of them. And that's where it all kind of started for the Yankees. And, I look at last year, obviously Cam Schlittler, I said this to my guy Dorney a couple of days ago here on the show. In many ways, reminds me of a young Garrett Cole. And I'm talking like
yep,
pre-Yankees Cole. Like I'm going back
yes,
to like the Pittsburgh days.
yeah, I agree. Um, I think he's special, and he sort of came out of nowhere because his velocity never used to be this high. But yeah, he's got the demeanor, he's got the attitude. I mean, we saw that playoff performance; it was legendary.
And I mean,
So,
even against the Jays, he pitched well enough to win.
yep,
Um, an encouraging thing going into the year, Aaron Judge, while by no means a complete monkey off his back because, he wants that ever elusive World Series, it was
right,
encouraging to see him have a good October, albeit shorter than what the
yes,
Yankees had planned. But,
yes,
he had that big Yankee moment against the Jays. And, he hit very well. And usually a
he
guy
did.
that shows up for October but got off to a cold start, and it was like I said already, it was shorter than the Yankees expected. Giancarlo Stanton was a little cold, but God's honest truth is it was Aaron Judge versus the world for
Yep.
unfortunately the short stay that the Yankees did have.
Yes. And honestly, they lost to Toronto because their starting pitching was terrible. So,
Here we go. Richard Dorney always on time. Pre Spider Tack Cole. R- Dorney loves to point out, little
you
things.
know, just a side caveat about Cole, when he was with Pittsburgh, they were actually, using him more of a sinker ball guy. And that, when he went to Houston, his career changed because they changed his whole style.
Yeah, they basically told him get the lead out of the balloon.
Yep.
But yes, no more sinkers with Cole. Predominantly pretty nice slider when he's on. Great pitch location. Still a high 90s fastball, a guy that still could get the velo going. But you know, until you see these guys back on the mound, in Cole's case, I imagine
Yeah.
middle of June. In Rodon's case, I imagine May. There is going to be some worry because there is nothing guaranteed. But with the
Right.
advancements in sports medicine,
I, I would
with
worry
the
more about Cole than Rodon, to be honest. Because Rodon has proved himself durable the last couple of years. Cole is coming off two significant injuries in back-to-back years, and he's also older. So I would worry more about him. Not that I'm counting him out, but I think Rodon will be ready to go. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I do believe that when everyone's healthy, and assuming that Weathers could fill out and be a good bargain starter, I think at some juncture of the year you might see Luis Heel end up in the pen. Oh, Dorney's at it again. Let's see this now. Mike Stanton is a bum. Now, Rich, the man changed his name to Giancarlo a long time ago. If you are referring to Mike Stanton, you are referring to setup man extraordinaire from the Yankees dynasty. So I'm assuming you're talking about Mike Stanton and not John Michael. But yeah, Dorney loves having fun. One of the best Met fans I know, and truthfully, that's an incredibly short list. But Dorney knows his baseball. Dorney loves his Mets, and Dorney's a little bit concerned about Francisco Lindor. So we're going to be,
Heard about that one, yeah.
we're going to be moving it along, and we'll get back to some of these other teams we already are going to hit on. But National League East, New York Mets, Semien, Polanco, Peralta, Bichette, Roberts, Williams and Weaver in, McNeil, Nimmo, and Alonso out. I did have Rich give me his spin on how he feels about the New York Mets additions versus the subtractions. Will the new Mets additions help them avoid another September swoon? Well, I said this before. I'll say it again. I think the Mets Waterloo last year, besides whatever the media wants to report as some tension in the clubhouse, the real issues, in my estimation, were that they were not able to get enough length out of an actually good pitching staff in terms of the innings they did pitch. But after
Yep.
4.1, after five, with the exception of maybe a Kadai Senga, the Mets were not going deep into games. But I think with acquiring Peralta from the Brewers, and of course, you have Peterson coming back, McLean. This is a team that I think could potentially challenge, and I mean no slight to anybody in the National League or in baseball. So if I say second best record in the American League or in baseball or in the National League, it's a compliment. But I would say a team that can challenge for second best record in the National League because I personally think the Dodgers could be honing in on record setting stuff between the 98 Yankees and the '01 Mariners. Just my opinion. They have to actually come together and do it. It's easier said than done, no matter how much they spend and add talent. You still got to play. But I think the
For
Mets got a
sure.
good squad right now. I like them on paper, I must admit.
I do too. I worry about the loss of Alonso because that's more so than just his production. His presence is impactful. And I don't know how you replace that. I like the addition of Bichette. I think he's a great hitter. With this team, it all depends on health. Is their rotation going to be healthy?
Yeah,
Peralta's a good anchor, but they need health and they need to have guys like McLean, who's a youngster. You need him to perform. So obviously, there's no guarantees in sports, but on paper, yes. And the bullpen is Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. Are they gonna hold it down, or are they gonna be a nightmare? Who knows?
Yeah, and any Met fan would also probably suggest that even though it was going to happen, losing Edwin Diaz, that's another guy that you just can't replace anywhere.
Right.
Um, he did have a little bit of trouble after the World Baseball Classic recovery, but he reasserted himself as a top line closer in MLB. Richard Dorney, he did mention this on the show. He's mentioning it here again. McNeil was the locker room cancer, grumpy rat looking bum. Now he's set to where players' careers go to die in not Oakland athletics. Um, no, I'm with him there. Uh, yeah, McNeil definitely overstayed his welcome in Queens. I know that Rich recently spoke about Brandon Nimmo, saying how he kind of viewed him in some metrics as the Mets version of a Brett Gardner, like not outstanding, but a good player. But they are getting
He's on.
Semien.
Yeah, yeah. I know Semien is not a good hitter. Let's be real. He used to be, but I worry about the Mets offense if they have a big injury because it's not as deep as people think, in my
I
opinion.
personally think the guy that you could ill afford to lose is actually Lindor. I think Lindor is the guy
Yep,
that makes them go. As good of a talent as Soto is, I personally think that Lindor is the guy that you absolutely have to keep healthy during the course of the season.
I agree with you. I like Polanco. I think he's a solid player. But Bichette, great hitter, but if he gets hurt, I mean, obviously anything can happen, but the Mets might have to swing a trade later for a bat. That's my prediction.
Yeah, and I mean, that could be had at the deadline depending on the direction of certain teams.
Right. I don't know if other Mets fans have the same concerns as what I'm speaking on, but
Well, as Lindor goes right now, he's on the mend, but it appears that he should be back for opening day. Uh, if he's going to be sturdy enough to play the field immediately, I guess we'll see when we get there. But I'm sure that they'll find a way to make sure he's in the lineup regardless.
yep. And one last thing, I think it was Ron Darling. He said, "Why pitch to Soto?" And that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and the guy's a walk machine in general, but in terms of intentional walks, I do wonder if he could possibly do something similar to Aaron Judge when he was just getting the absurd amount of intentional walks. We're gonna go back to our division again, American League East. How bad will the Toronto Blue Jays miss Bo Bichette? You already mentioned him about the Mets. Can they get back to the World Series? I love you, Savage, but after him, I am not like over the moon about their rotation. That's just me, though.
Yeah, they did get Dylan Cease, a big addition, but he's had consistency problems too. Um, I
Very
think Bichette,
overpaid in
yeah,
my estimation
yeah,
when you consider that I think some of that is based off of stuff he did a couple of years back. I mean, he's
right,
far from an ace or even a number two in my estimation now. I'm not saying that
right,
he can't get it back, but
yeah,
we've seen the Blue Jays do this before, where they have spent
yes,
big money on what they think is going to be an ace and it ends up being like a number three guy.
yeah. And people don't realize like when you go to a World Series, it's not just talent. It's not. There's luck involved. There's health. Like, and it takes a lot out of you emotionally as well. Can they get back? Sure, they can, but they need things to go their way. I know they signed what's his name, Akamoto, the power hitting Japanese player infielder. So I guess he's going to be the guy that they want to replace Bichette in some sense. Different kind of hitters, but yeah,
I think Vladdy, after that World Series he had and the postseason in general, I think he's definitely going to be in the conversation this particular year for American League MVP. Of course, Aaron Judge, who is the most frequent MVP guy in the American League
yeah,
lately. Cal Raleigh is another interesting topic if he can keep up the serious pace that he put together last year. But I'll be honest, and I'm not saying this because I'm a homer. I think the Yankees are going to win the East this year. I really mean that. I uh
It's not
I
that far
share
fetched. Yeah.
I share your sentiments on how difficult it is to get back. And I've seen my fair share of heartbreaking World Series losses, but the way that the Blue Jays lost when you had them on the ropes, both games in Canada,
Wow.
and all I keep seeing is that embrace between Don Mattingly, former Yankee legend, and now former Blue Jay Bo Bichette of what could have been. IKF got gunned down
Yeah.
at the plate. You got to give the Dodgers all the credit. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of just being defensively sound, they were situationally ready for anything.
The Blue Jays, and this may be hyperbole, but the Blue Jays lost one of the most gutting World Series of all time in the most heartbreaking fashion due to how close they were to winning and all the weird things that happened, like, the ball getting stuck under the wall. And, it's just, they were right there. And then it was just,
I mean, if you're somebody that has to do with the Rogers Center, or if you're management, like it was crazy. It was crazy to
yeah.
see, and you got to give them credit because situationally sound. How many
Yep.
guys in MLB, if we're being honest, even some of your top flight outfielders would be prepared as well as the Dodgers were for a moment like that, and it speaks volumes
Yep.
on player progression, what they the culture. A big part of the Dodgers culture. Yeah, I get it. They spend a lot of money and they say F you to every luxury tax. And they also manipulate things like front loading or
Yep.
back loading rather
But
Otani's contract. But the
their,
culture,
their,
the
atten-
baseball
yeah,
acumen is top notch.
their attention to detail is what makes them great. Obviously, you do spend the money and people have their opinions about that, but they're focused, they're razor sharp. You mentioned the Mariners record. I mean, it's possible. The only thing I could see stopping that would be boredom.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, even if you look at last year and you look at the regular season record, um, nobody in MLB won 100 games, which was kind of wacky.
Yeah,
But I'll be honest, the Dodgers rotation last year left a lot to be desired. So I will
they had a
give
lot of
them credit where
injuries.
it's due.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's true. They did have injuries, but I'll give credit where it's due. Guys really showed out when they
Yep.
absolutely had to, and it wasn't always even on the other side offensively. It wasn't, so to speak, like the the names that everybody knows. I'm talking
Right.
about like Keke Hernandez, Pajes, catcher Will Smith. Like guys that were just really ready for the moments.
Rojas with the legendary home run in the World Series.
Yeah, that was wild. That
That's
was
one of the
wild.
craziest moments of all time, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know what it could have looked like because that actually reminded me momentarily of when Soriano went deep in
Yep.
Game 7 of the World Series, but it will never get remembered the same way because Mariano Rivera made the rare blown
Right.
save, and there was a lot more variables to why that went down the way it did. But yeah, game of
Oh,
inches, just like we could say about
yep.
football, which just ended. I'll tell you what, Corey, I'm very high on the Tigers pitching staff this year. Uh,
Absolutely.
a lot of people were clowning on Justin Verlander getting his world rocked in a Giants uniform, but
Yeah.
that ERA was around 3.5, which is not too bad considering how many miles are on that guy. And now you got Tarek Skubal, who I don't think will get traded because if they're going to lose him, they're going to try to win it this year.
Yes. They got Framber Valdez, which is a big move.
And the AJ Hinch connection,
Yep.
Verlander, because a lot of people feel that this Tigers reunion is based off of his time in Detroit and nostalgia. No, this is based off AJ Hinch having a history with him in Houston, and it just happens to be that he goes back to his homegrown team.
Right. And I do believe that he'll probably retire after this year.
One would think, one would have to think that's the case. And Casey Mize coming off. a career best season. So I'll be honest with you. I had a high admiration for what the Mariners did last year pitching wise. I think the Mariners
Yeah.
Waterloo was after Kyle Raleigh. You never really knew who was going to step up. I mean, Randy Arozarena had some moments of brilliance, as did Josh Naylor last year, but you never really knew. Eugenio Suarez, he
Yep.
had some moments of brilliance, but truthfully, this Tigers team, I think, could be that kind of staff this year where they are really strong 1 through 4. Because
I
I have a
agree.
feeling
And
Verlander is going to have a bounce back.
I agree. And I think I like their young nucleus of homegrown players. Yeah, I think they're going to be great. Last year they obviously somewhat collapsed against Cleveland, but yeah, I'm really high on the Tigers, and the division is weak, so
Yeah, that was a weird situation how that played out. They collapsed, lost the division, and then they beat them anyway. Yeah, it was kind of odd the way all of that played out last year. I do want to go back to our Yankees, and I'm going to share this with Dorney's favorites, the Phillies. That's, of course, me being facetious. Are the Philadelphia Phillies and New York Yankees the most guilty of running it back exactly and expecting different results? We already spoke about the Yankees a little. We'll go back to them, but let's go to the Phillies. What are your thoughts right now with them? I personally think they're not going to be better than the Mets this year. But what do you got here?
yeah, I think they're going to regress. I do think they're a really good team, but they lost Suarez, to Boston, and
And
so
they lost out on so close to getting Bichette.
yeah, exactly. They didn't land the big fish that they wanted. They did bring back Schwarber, which is important, but I kind of think this is the last hurrah for this core that's kind of been successful, the last, like, what, 5 years or so.
I think this is kind of like the end of the World Series window for both the Phillies and the
Yeah,
Astros. Now, the Astros, of course, have won already. You can put a big asterisk next to 2017. I don't care what anybody says. But
you're not wrong. Yep.
yeah, in as a famous quote of the Jordan Patrick Show, now currently the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast, one of our favorite sayings on that show, and we dropped it when it pertained. We were even thinking about slipping it into like a hidden message on some merch. Well, here we go, guys. Fuck you, AJ Hinch. Damn good manager though, and I don't have no bad for him. I'm just
He
being
is a great
competitive.
manager.
He really is. I'm just being competitively playful, but
No, you're
guys
right.
take
And
chances and cut corners everywhere you could. It's not exclusive to AJ Hinch. AJ Hinch got caught, and at the end of the day, they were kicking our ass for a long time. So yeah, I'm still kind
they
of
were.
taking some of the blisters out.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, the Yankees are technically running it back, but I view the Phillies as much more of a issue than the Yankees. Not that the Phillies are bad, obviously, but they're going to regress.
I think the Mets
And
emotionally, them taking them out 2 years ago, I think that was a huge step for them moving forward in terms of windows because I
right,
see the Mets as having a bigger window than the Phillies, and I do think the Braves are going to be on the horizon for a bounce back season as well.
I think the Braves are better than the Phillies.
Yeah,
Uh,
truthfully, it wouldn't shock me with Miami and Washington, playing the role of who's going to be in the cellar,
yep,
the
and the
Marlins.
Braves. Yeah, exactly. I think the Braves are going to bounce back. They do need some pitching help in the rotation, more so depth wise. But yeah, I think the Phillies are, they're going to be a playoff team, I think. But running it back wise, they are expecting different results, and
Uh,
I don't know.
and I'm calling for Ronald Acuna Jr. to have a bounce back. And what I mean by bounce back is back to being the best player in the National League. I'm not saying he's going to be the best player in the National League now because, of course, you got some stiff competition. You got Shohei, you got Soto out there now.
But
You got Mookie
he should
Betts.
be He should be top 5 for MVP, in my opinion. Like that's what the
Yeah,
level he
that's
should be at. Yeah.
that's my expectation for him. And when he's in that lineup, it makes everybody's life easier.
Exactly. And he just needs to be healthy. It's good for baseball. Like he's just an exciting player. And dynamic, you know.
Yeah, one of the good guys in baseball for sure. All right, I'm kind of going through, so we're not going in any particular order. We did speak about the polar bear a little. We'll speak on him again. Um, can the polar bear bring back the Orioles to the postseason? He joins a team that was the best last place team last season. Of course, the year before that and the year before that, they were a very good team. I personally think that they made some upgrades in the pitching and in
Did
the bridge to get to the ninth. Where I think the Orioles are not going to be an easy out this year. I think they're actually going to be quite competitive. Will that translate to a playoff berth? I don't know if I'll go that far, but I do think that the Orioles might have a lot to do with who does go to the
right.
playoffs in the East. Of course, last year the Sox, the Yanks, and the Jays all made it. I think towards like the end of the year, this is going to be a team that a lot of people are going to dread playing.
I agree. You know, they got Heisley as their closer now. They did add Baz for the rotation. Their rotation needs to stay healthy like every team, but that's the one area of concern they've had over the last few years. And then their home core guys, some of them need bounce backs. You know, Gunnar Henderson didn't have the same year last year as he did the year before.
Yeah, you want to see Jackson Holiday,
Yeah,
hitting all
exactly.
all his potential. Of course, Adley Rutschman.
Adley Rushman needs a redemption bad.
Well, I mean, he's the best catcher in the American League, and then Cal Raleigh had that historic season in
Right.
Seattle.
But
But
you know who I like for Baltimore? Sam Basilio. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but
yes, yes,
I think he's a really talented hitter.
yeah, Baltimore, I think, is definitely trending upward.
Yep.
The American League East in general is going to be very competitive. Infield
Yeah.
upgrades galore. Will the Red Sox make the postseason again? I'm going to say yes. I like him or not. Alex Cora is a really terrific manager.
Rotation got better. Um, Suarez is a really talented pitcher. Obviously, Crochet is one of the greats in the game. Oh man, I do. Their lineup is more so pesky than dominant, in my opinion. I like the Orioles lineup better than Boston's.
I
Uh,
like Boston better in terms of situational hitting.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, absolutely. I kind of view Baltimore and Boston kind of like the same in some ways, as far as like probably a mid 80s kind of situation
Yes.
for win total. You know, maybe 90 top end. But yes, playoffs definitely. I definitely think they could. Um, I think losing Bregman is more hurtful than people want to admit.
It's
They did get
interesting how that played
Contreras.
out.
Yeah, they
It
did
is
get
interesting how
Contreras.
that
Yep,
played out
yep,
because you lose Bregman and Devers so close in proximity to each other.
right.
I understand why they had Devers pack up. I think Devers was being an asshole, and I would have done the
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly. He was causing chemistry problems. He says he's not going to play first base, and then he goes to San Francisco and says he'll play first base. So it's like,
And the fact that he's been Garrett Cole's dad, I am more than fine with him playing in the Bay.
yeah, please get him out. Ironically,
Yeah.
that's who the Yankees play on opening day.
Is that I'm assuming that's in the Bay, right? That's not in the Bronx.
Yeah, it's in the Bay. Yeah, it's on Netflix, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an iconic old school matchup where, back in the old days, because New York had three teams back then. You had the Dodgers, the Giants, and of course
Yep.
the Yanks. And it was cool when that dude from San Francisco shows up at Yankee Stadium opening day a couple years back with the Arson Judge jersey. It literally said Arson Judge on the back. That whoever that Giant fan is, he
Yes.
has an excellent sense of humor. And what even makes me laugh more about this whole thing, I have a ton of respect for John Heyman. When he's talking
Sure. Yeah,
baseball and he's
absolutely.
getting his scoops, he's right more times than not. And
Yeah.
a fellow Lawrence High School grad is John Heyman. As I
Really?
graduated, yes, sir, I graduated from Lawrence in '99. John Heyman's also a graduate of my high school, and I'm just like, that's awesome. that the guy who fumbled that, and then you could make all
Yeah,
the memes about like he went to my high school. I think that's pretty dope.
yeah. And obviously, he made the mistake, but he's a well-respected guy in the industry. Um,
Yeah, no doubt.
so yeah, it's more so a kind of a funny kind of meme thing now than kind of giving him shit for it. But I love San Francisco's ballpark. It's one of the best in my opinion. So
Absolutely.
looking,
McCovey Cove is iconic. Yeah, and I'm happy. I remember when Zappy and I first broke the news that MLB was going to have everyone play everyone. I think it's great for the sport.
yep,
I think that it's a way of avoiding boring out your fans because let's be real. While there is some value of divisional play that I miss from time to time, I do think that when you got to punish people and make the Dodgers and the Rockies play 19 times, or like the Mets, although they do tend to struggle against the Marlins, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah. I thought 19 games versus your division rival was just overkill, and
If they went to a 182 format and added 20 games, I would say bring it back.
right.
But yeah, that's
I
where
just
I kind of stand
yeah
on that one.
just got a notification that the Orioles signed Chris Bassett. That's a good move.
Wow, and we were literally just talking about
Yeah.
their look at you, bro. Look at you over here. First time on the show in about 6, 7 months, and you're over here dropping news stuff on us.
Yeah.
Right after we
That's a
talk
good.
about John Heyman. I like that.
That's solid though for them for sure.
Yeah, sometimes it's just being lucky. Like when the Soto news came, I literally was doing a show wearing my Yankee jacket when the news came over. When we got Soto, I was like, "Oh, this is terrific! I'm already in the Yankee room. I'm ready for it." Um, the Tampa Bay Rays back to the Trop, which I'm happy about because I don't have to suffocate in that heat. I did go to Steinbrenner Field last year. Uh, will the revolving door in Tampa Bay too much to overcome, or can it yield good results as they are back in the Trop? And of course, I give him a lot of credit frequently, but I think Kevin Cash, no matter what he has to deal with, is always just such a good situational manager. The Billy Bean approach through and through over there in Tampa, as they do not pay superstars, with the exception of few. They did pay Evan Longoria, of course, but it's
Right.
few and far between that they show the money to.
Yeah. I mean, they're more of a heart and soul kind of team because Kevin Cash is kind of the blueprint behind that. I view them as a last place team in the East. Does
I
that
don't
mean they're
I don't
gonna?
think that I don't think that they're going to be a bad last place team though.
No, I don't either. I honestly think they'll be. They could win 80 games even.
Yeah, I got them right around the 500 threshold. That's kind of where I
Yeah.
view the Tampa Bay Rays this
Yeah.
year. Off of the actual teams for a second, I do want to ask you a little bit about the Hall of Fame. Of course, on my show and anybody who covers sports, the Hall of Fame for Canton, Ohio, and football, very controversial, as obviously everyone knows what happened with Belichick, Kraft,
Right.
etc. They're putting in a kicker. They're not putting in Jason Witten. Eli's still waiting. Drew Brees gets in, even though they had Bounty Gate. Da da da. Okay, and Roger Craig finally got in because he didn't wait too long. Um,
Right.
okay, Cooperstown, a fun place for me to go to with my dad when I was a youngster. A lot
Great
of good
place.
memories. Yeah, man, a lot of good memories there. But it's hurting me that Major League Baseball continues to ignore their ghost, their bad stuff. I understand why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall. He
Sure.
signed a paper that basically said I won't be allowed in the Hall. Now they want to
Yep.
revisit it. Shoeless Joe Jackson's going to get reconsideration, as he should. Major League
Yeah.
Baseball's made money off that Field of Dreams game. Most accounts of people that were back alive that spoke about it said that he didn't have nothing to do with it. The only thing he was guilty of was not being a rat.
Right.
Um, then you got this stuff. Okay, we know that David Ortiz had immunity. I'm not picking on Poppy. He's a favorite of mine despite wearing the wrong uniform. Manny
Me too.
Ramirez, Washington Heights product, same
Yep.
team, same era. This is what frustrates me about all this shit. A-Rod did a lot of steroids. No, no, no. Andy Pettit just won't book it. We'll put him in. Barry Bonds, human bobblehead, never ever. Kurt Schilling, we don't like your opinions. I don't like them either. But the point is, he was a great player.
Yes.
Uh, they got to stop picking and choosing and playing the moral police when
Right.
they deem it fit, and stop punishing guys like Thurman Munson, Dale Murphy, Don Mattingly, Keith Hernandez. All the guys I just mentioned belong in the hall.
Yeah. It shouldn't be a character issue. Now, if somebody was committed a horrible crime, I could see,
There's
but
levels to it. There's
yeah,
levels to it. But like to completely punish players for being part of something that your institution allowed,
yes,
that's what pisses me off. It'd be one thing if, I mean, dude, to be honest with you, Vince McMahon, I mean, just to put it in perspective, Vince McMahon did more when he had to about a wellness program than Major League Baseball did. And that is really embarrassing when you think about it.
that is it's really funny too. That's the level of
Hulk
shame.
Hogan went from the 24-inch pythons to the 12-inch pythons. I remember when he came back at 92 looking lean,
Right.
and that's a big reason why WWE started making the transition to go with lighter, more technically sound champions like the Shawn
Yep.
Michaels and the Bret Harts of the
Yep.
world.
Because a lot of guys were dying and they had heart issues and
The
addiction
whole
issues. Yeah.
Well, don't worry, it didn't stop Michaels from enjoying the addiction party. He
No,
found
it didn't.
God, he got
No,
right.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But the point I'm making is like in your point too. But the reason I even bring this crap up is because when you look at Major League Baseball, it's like I've said it time and time again. A-Rod is good enough for his face to be a huge part of your ratings caliber system, spitting just great content next to Big Poppy, next to Derek Jeter.
Yep.
You
It's
know,
a very, very good show. It,
Absolutely. And I feel that A-Rod would one day be a phenomenal manager if he actually had the patience to be a manager. But the point I'm making
right.
is it's messed up because you have two steroid users sitting next to Derek Jeter. One's
Yep.
in, one's just blacklisted. You can't pick and choose guys.
You
Let
can't.
certain guys in and use
Yep.
common sense for some of this shit because I'll be honest with you, while I don't care for Barry Bonds as a human being, I personally think what Mark McGwire did was more egregious because Barry Bonds, you know who he cheated? He cheated himself
Yep.
because he was a five-tool player coming up. When he
Yeah.
decided to be a human bobblehead, he lost a lot of his dexterity. He lost some of the stuff that made
Yep.
him a full-faceted guy.
Bonds won MVPs in Pittsburgh. He also was a great left fielder. He stole bases. He was a 40-40 guy. I think he did that with the Giants, but that was a little bit before he
And
started
that's
with it.
back
Yeah.
when 40-40 was like a real big deal.
Yep.
Just like
This
when
is
hitting
my
30
thing.
in a regular season was a big deal.
This is my thing though. How do you pick and choose which guys belong? Do you just say, okay, McGwire, he's got the numbers? Do you leave McGwire out because you think it's more egregious? What about
I'll put
somebody
it
like
to you
Rob?
like
Yeah,
this. McGwire annoys me more than Bonds ever could. And maybe there's a personal bias, but
right.
when McGwire was doing this shit in Oakland, it was directly affecting a Yankee that was missing All-Star games. That, of course, would be Don Mattingly.
Yep.
So when you
And
start tallying up, man, Mattingly only has 6 All-Star games. But let's
right,
just say hypothetically, what if he had 8?
right. And McGwire wasn't a great player. He was a bad defender. He was a bad base runner.
I don't view McGwire as a great player because Barry Bonds, without that shit, just like Alex Rodriguez, just like Roger Clemens,
Great.
certain
They're great.
guys are generationally gifted regardless.
Yep.
And and A-Rod cheated himself.
Yes, I agree. Um, Manny Ramirez, one of the greatest right-hand hitters ever.
I'm
I
just
think he should
saying,
be
you
in the
can't
Hall of
tell the
Fame. Yeah,
story. You can't tell the story of Major League Baseball without these guys. But to answer your question, I think there's different layers of honesty.
right.
I would, I would be like, I would just say, hey, you want to be in the Hall of Fame? Tell the fucking truth.
Yep.
And I'll tell you right now, that'll still exclude Bonds because Bonds ain't ever going to say he did it.
No, no, he won't. But Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen. So,
And that's the thing that annoys me about all of this is that, a reliable source, I'm not going to drop a name here, but who has ties to Major League Baseball, had a very in-depth conversation with me off air and told me, he said, that steroid stuff is not making great players hit more home runs. It's keeping them healthy enough to do that shit. And
yep.
it makes me feel like it's May when it's like September. And I'm not condoning it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I can't take an institution seriously that didn't take their drug usage
Right.
seriously until Congress cared. And then you got guys like
Exactly.
Rafael Palmeiro
Yeah.
waving his finger and lying, and Canseco's
Yeah.
laughing at him. He's like, I injected you right in the tush.
Yeah. Those two guys right there. How do you view them? Do they get? I mean, Palmero was 3,000 hits, 500. Like, was he a great player? Was
I'll make
Canseco
a
a great
deal with
player? Yeah,
Canseco. I'll be like, Jose had some history bound moments. Um, I like Jose on the level because even though he's a knucklehead, he told the truth.
he did. He was also a 40-40 guy.
Yes, he was. Yeah, I think Jose Canseco in a profession where so many guys were lying, even when it was the most obvious thing, he at least had the audacity to tell the truth.
Yep.
So you're gonna get on guys for cheating, but you're also gonna get on guys for telling the truth. So
Yes.
where does this start and where does this end?
Right. My thing is, you want them to tell the truth, and then you judge: are they a great player? If they're not a great player, don't put them in the Hall of Fame.
I think Barry Bonds goes without saying. But
Yeah,
then you get your real head scratchers like a Thurman Munson. When you look at batting
absolutely.
averages for people at his position and multiple championships, that guy was everything in the postseason. It
Yeah,
wasn't just
and if you,
Mr. October, it was him too.
right, and I know this wasn't nobody ever thought about WAR back then, but if you look at his limited playing time in WAR, he's up there with the greatest. If he would have had a full career, he would have been, top five catcher of all time. So it's like, yeah,
But my thing is death shouldn't steal the Hall of Fame for anybody. And in Thurman's
no,
case,
no, no, no.
death
I
shouldn't steal anything. And then you look at other guys who went to war during like the 40s and stuff, and they still made
right.
the Hall.
And
But
Joe DiMaggio, imagine his numbers if he didn't go.
sure, Ted Williams, these are
Yeah,
guys that, you really got to consider. And then my thing too, this is another thing to consider. I have no objection whatsoever to uh including the Negro League players because it was never their choice.
right.
So I have no issue with those guys getting in the hole.
Absolutely.
However, I would like them to consider looking at Ichiro as the all-time hit leader because
Yep.
I wish the Baseball Hall of Fame was more geared as a World Baseball Hall of Fame as opposed to
Yeah.
just that league because with all the scar tissue in that league, I think that it would be cool to include that. And so you don't want to put the all-time home run hitter or the all-time hits king. So why don't you put it on the guy that actually is in the hall?
Right. And and like the other Hall of Fames are, they're not just the NBA. They're not just the NFL. They're the sport itself. So they put,
Well, that's why
college
certain
players. Yeah.
guys could still make the Hall of Fame in basketball if they didn't have the best pro career, depending on what they did in college, contributions. There's a lot of layers to it. But no, good convo for sure. Before we get out of here, one final thing. I want to talk about the potential lockout in 27, and I'm going to talk about these
Mm,
guys first because they're part of the subject matter. Are the Los Angeles Dodgers good or bad for MLB?
it's a loaded question. Um, good for MLB. What's bad for MLB are the teams that don't care to spend it all. That's what's bad for MLB.
Because I agree with that, Corey, because you don't necessarily have to have the budget that the Dodgers have to win. But
No.
at the same time, you know, people get on Hal's ass and other owners about all the luxury tax. But what people fail to realize is that the luxury tax benefits your closest rivals
Hmm.
directly. And that's something that a lot of people don't
Yep.
understand. That's where that money goes.
Yeah, and it also goes to the shitty teams that tank every year.
Right, right, which is laughable. They just put it in their pocket. Like Dorney said it the other day on the show. If I was a Pirates fan, how could I even
Yep.
care after like the first 40 or 50 games? And speaking of the Pirates, Paul Skeens, will he finish the year in a Pittsburgh jersey?
Oh man. Yes, because I think the Pirates are better. They actually did make a good effort this year, this
I
offseason.
saw
They
that.
did. Yeah.
An effort towards respectability. I'm taking the Cubs
Yep.
in that division, of course.
Me too.
My thing is this: if you cannot jump the Milwaukee Brewers after acquiring Alex Bregman, you're just not going to be able to jump them. But I think this is the
Yep.
time for the Cubs to take back that division. The Reds, I'm 50-50 on. I'm going to have them missing the playoffs this year.
I think yeah, I agree with that. I think the Reds are good though. They did bring back Suarez. They got a nice young rotation. Um, but probably a fringe wild card team at best.
Yeah, yeah. I think similar to the position they found them in last year, where the Mets helped them immensely to get in.
Right.
So the impending lockout 27. Part of this, I believe, is going to be driven on the way that the manipulation of money, like the Dodgers have done. You know, you give the best player in the world, he's making 1 million last year,
Yeah,
but he has
deferred
like an
contracts. Yeah.
abnormal, yeah. They're gonna, I think they're gonna try to put a happy medium or just cease it.
Yep.
Also, a hard cap. What's the floor on it? Do you think that Major League Baseball is eventually looking at a salary cap?
Yes. Now, this is what I want to know. I'm not the best financial guru. So, is a hard cap basically like you can't go past this number, or is it you can go past the number and you'll get penalized?
Hey, you know what it is, man. This might sound outrageous, but I'm okay with what the Dodgers are doing because we used to do that shit all the time. And the other thing is this,
To an extent,
uh,
yes.
to an extent, but inflation, different times. Back
Right.
then
Sure.
it was comparable to what they're doing now. But my thing is, what is America based on? Capitalism, right?
Yes. Consumer world.
Consumer world. So goose gander, kettle black, keep spending Dodgers. At the end of the day, it's baseball. And there ain't no team in the world that can't lose. And that includes the 27 Yankees, the 98 Yankees. That includes the best teams that ever played the game. Everybody's beatable, and so are the Dodgers. Will that come to
Yep.
fruition this year? I don't know. I guess we'll just have
I
to
don't
find
know.
out. But damn, they're fucking good though. They
They
really are.
are
That's the thing,
great.
man. Money doesn't buy everything because ask Uncle Stevie. He's been spending a ton of money. He hasn't been able to have
Yep.
the success the Dodgers have had.
They missed the playoffs, what, two or three times, spending a ton of money, the Mets?
Yeah, I mean, they were paying Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer to go chase the dream with two different Texas teams. But I do like what the Mets did. I said that at the top of the
Yeah,
hour.
for sure.
I do like what they did right now. Last question before we get out of here, Yankee related. Do you think David Bednar is going to be good enough to hold that closer role for the whole year, or do you think there's somebody else currently on the team that's going to take that from him? I would say the closest candidate for that role could be Camilo Doval for the simple fact that he has experience closing games with the Giants.
No, I think Bednar's going to hold on to that. I like his mentality. I think he's just super solid and he's got the right attitude for it. I'm not worried about him.
Also, last one, Paul Goldschmidt. How do you feel about the 38-year-old running it back with the Yankees? I, for one, like it because of the fact that he crushes lefties, and I
Yes.
like that he's going to take a vested interest into being that teammate that really tries to develop Ben Rice into being the best first baseman and just professional he could be.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm actually kind of taken aback by it because I didn't expect it. But the
Not to be
Yankees
a
were,
dick.
yeah,
You know who I thought was going to take Goldschmidt? Not to be a dick. The fucking Mets.
yeah.
When they lost Alonso before the Polanco deal, I was like, I said this to my barber. Shouts out J&L Barbershop, Orange Avenue, Orlando. Check these guys out. But yeah, Lewis is a huge Yankee fan, and he said, "Do you think they'll have the audacity to take Goldie?" I'm like, "Well, why not? They take everybody else that we're done with."
I don't know, man. I just think Goldschmidt is just like one of the best people ever. So
Yeah, man.
he crushes lefties. He's a good mentor. The Yankees do need that platoon advantage because they were a little too lefty heavy, but it's going to be interesting.
It is a little weird where they're still lefty heavy. That, of course, would be catcher because Ben Rice is the emergency catcher. And of course, you have JC Escara backing up Austin Wells.
I think Wells is an X factor for the Yanks. I think he needs a bounce back offensively.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm fine with him defensively. He does a good job, but if he's good, it only means great things for the Yanks.
No, I couldn't agree more. Jose Caballero, I'm happy he's coming back. I'm also happy that we brought back Ahmed Rosario because the
Yes.
Yankees have their fair share of boppers, but you need those
Hmm.
contact guys. And I have a
Yeah.
feeling that with Volpe and his situation right now, starting the year late, uh, you're going to have guys like Caballero, guys like Rosario, guys
Yep.
like Cabrera, who's going to be coming back. These
Yes.
guys are going to get their fair share of opportunities, and I think it's
Yep.
going to be healthy competition within the Bombers that, in the end, hopefully helps them become a better unit. And guy to watch this spring, Spencer Jones, because if Spencer Jones
Oh
shows
yeah.
that he is major league ready, the Yankees may be willing to part with the Martian.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think he's got a world of talent. He needs to fix his stance a little. I think it's a little outrageous, but he's got tools too. Besides power, he can run. He can play defense pretty well.
No, for sure. I like the depth, and that's why I don't see it as a complete run back because what people fail to realize is not that I wish injury on anyone, but with Anthony Volpe not having the choice to be the opening day shortstop, that does open up certain things. This is a big year for Jazz Chisholm as well as Ryan McMahon. Jazz is playing for a new contract,
Yep.
and Ryan McMahon, love him at third, sweet glove, but that bat needs to catch up to it, and he does have
Yep.
the kind of swing that can be very good at Yankee Stadium. Of course, I'm thrilled that Bellinger's back. Thank you, Nunez. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
And yes, man, this should be a good baseball season.
It
And let
should be,
this
man.
best team be successful. Wish you all luck, no injuries, hopefully. Yeah, appreciate that, Nunez. Same for your team. But I say, if any team could endure injuries, it's yours because you got an all-star at damn near every position.
You ready for the marathon, guys? It's coming.
Yeah, and just for the viewers to know, we're going to be doing at least 2 baseball shows a week. I mean, you know me, similar to how I am during football season on Monday mornings, but with the Yankees, do not be the least bit surprised if I'm on here every friggin' morning talking Yankees baseball when we're live and chasing down that ever elusive 28th World Series title. Good luck to all the teams. Of course, we're going to be doing divisional previews in the coming weeks, and we're going to take our time on it because, like Corey said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and may the
Yep.
best team win. For
Also, the
Corey
world.
Rain.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just one last thing. World Baseball Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love the World Baseball Classic. I'm happy. Dorney kind of alluded to it as well. There's just something about seeing the country pride for our boys as well as the world over. That just reminds people why this is such a beautiful game when you see the pride in Latin America, Canada, just all over the world, Japan. This is a great game, man.
Greatest game in the world, in my opinion, but I'm biased.
Yeah, I know you love you some baseball, but so do I. For Corey, I am Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. And last thing, now before it slips my mind, I do want to share something with the viewers. This should just take a second if I can get my hands on this photo. Unfortunately, I don't see it in my. Here we go. Here we go. Just bear with me, Corey. I wasn't expecting to have to do this on the fly, but I do want to share this with the viewers. All right, here we go. Guys, our own Idris Salam, aka Bosco from the Bronx. Please check out Old Man Energy on every streaming platform. Volumes 1 and 2. 2 is a jazz album. 1 is just a great hip hop album. Uh, this is a lifetime of work. You know, this is a project that Idris has worked on and off for over 7 years. So definitely give the big guy here, Idris, some love. Boom bap era DJ, something that is a bit of a dying breed, a very rare skill set. And master engineer and producer of the entire album. And you could get this on Apple Music, Spotify. And I was happy to find out that I was even able to attach it on IG, where his catalog is also available. So definitely give that a look, guys, for the hip hop heads.
It's mixed beautifully, by the way.
Yeah, Corey. I sent it to you because I know you're a big hip hop fan, and I knew you'd appreciate it. But yeah, shouts out to you, Idris. Idris does so much here at the show, man. I say, if they were gonna do a life story about anybody that's associated with the show right now, I said Idris would definitely be the first one to the line.
He's lived it.
Stories, yes, he has. He certainly has. But great show tonight, Corey. Glad you're back in the fold, and look
Yeah,
forward to
man.
getting with you in the near future.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps next time we'll get you on here with Dorney. And shouts out to my guys from the Sports Corner, Joe Gal, as well as Johnny Nast. They're Phillies fans, so it'd be fun to get them and Dorney together.
Oh, yeah. A little spiciness.
Yeah, and it's fun to just kind of referee it and not be in the thick of it, because that would be if we had to get Rids over here. But Rids, I want you on the show. I know you're still licking your wounds from the Super Bowl.
John Johnson, come on, man. You know what's up.
Yeah. John, I promised John Johnson I would do this, even though it's the stupidest question. How many Aaron Boone autographs do you own, Mr. Rain?
I don't own any Aaron Boone autographs. I have a Bernie Williams autograph, though.
Well, that's a better one to have. For Corey, I am Richie. Have a great night, everyone.
See you guys.